Our top story here at 6, our defenders team learning that a student previously investigated for hate speech is now reportedly enrolled at UNC Charlotte.
The student was attending Davidson College this past November when some of her tweets went viral. The post showed support for the KKK as well as the shooting of several people at a Pittsburgh synagogue.
News of her enrollment at UNCC comes weeks after a gunman killed 2 students and injured 4 others. The defenders Nathan Morbido live at 6. Nate, how is the university responding to all of this?
So we know the student's getting a second chance. UNC Charlotte is now condemning hate speech, but a member of the Student Government Association is taking it a step further, saying this student is not a part of Niner Nation and does not belong on campus.
Shocked, disappointed, mortified.
6 months after her tweets left the campus of Davidson College in disbelief,
almost embarrassed thinking about the pictures she posted.
It appears the same student who posted support for the KKK, a blue-eyed master race, and the shooting of members of the Jewish community is now enrolled at UNC Charlotte.
UNC Charlotte cannot be and will not be defined by this tragedy.
The same campus still recovering from a shooting of its own. Student Government Association member Jacob Baum told us UNC Charlotte's continued decision to welcome the student is a decision to welcome hate speech, and said she has no place on our campus. A North Carolina group opposed to white supremacy first exposed the ROTC cadet in November, and in recent days, Carolina Workers Collective brought her up again, questioning her enrollment at UNC Charlotte. In response, UNC Charlotte confirmed a woman by the same name is enrolled as a student here, saying generally the university receives more than 20,000 undergraduate applications every year and does not conduct internet or social media searches as part of the normal admission process. Adding UNC Charlotte does not routinely admit students who have been expelled from a previously attended educational institution. To calm any concerns, the university said in a statement it strongly condemns hate speech in all forms and is committed to disciplining any instances of harassment or intimidation under the Code of Student Responsibility. Now, because of federal privacy laws, we do not know what terms she left Davidson College from, whether she was forced out or voluntarily withdrew. We reached out to the student today. We've yet to hear back.
I mean, obviously, people like that exist. I never thought it'd be here.
Shock from a Davidson College student that a fellow classmate could be behind the latest bigotry to be investigated on the quaint campus. In a statement, President Carol Quillian says Davidson College condemns bigotry and hatred as an anathema to our mission. While our individual voices will differ, I urge each of us to stand loud and strong against racism, anti-Semitism, and propagators of hate. Their epithets and slogans, they are not ideas, are antithetical to Davidson's values. It's all happening while an investigation continues into allegations that a Twitter account for the handle Feminon belongs to a Davidson College student. An archive of the Twitter handle shows tweets that are reportedly anti-Semitic, racist, and in support of Nazis. A spokesperson for the U.S. Army Cadet Command now confirms the Twitter handle is that of ROTC cadet Martha Gerdes, saying she is still a cadet at this time, but is no longer on the Davidson College campus.
He tells me he left Atomwaffen and has renounced Nazism. He won't go on camera for an interview. But using information from the chat logs, I'm able to identify other hate camp participants. One of them agrees to talk to me. He's a 20-something Army veteran who asks me to call him Jeremiah. He came back from a combat tour damaged and angry.
There were a lot of people that were disenchanted with the mission. I'd say about half the guys in my unit. I think a lot of guys, they're lost and they want hope. They're looking for answers.
How big would you say the white nationalist movement is within the armed forces?
There's a good amount of them. They keep quiet about it, especially when they're in. You can get in a lot of trouble. Going onto Facebook, I never mentioned the military.
How did the group regard combat veterans and service members?
We definitely wanted to appeal to veterans. We would say they had the fighting spirit that the National Socialists of the 1920s had, that the people of the alt-right lack. Take an average 19-year-old from Atomwaffen. His only experience of war is video games versus some guy like me who knows how to handle himself in a war. People looked up to the military guys. You were at least using the training that they had given you to hit back at them.
When you guys did do training, what kind of training was it? What did you learn? What kind of skills were shared?
Going to the range, clearing rooms, medical, how to wage an effective insurgency. A lot of the Iraq and Afghan war vets, they took what they saw the Taliban or Al-Qaeda in Iraq doing and applied it to what's going on here. Jews were the #1 enemy. We would say the Jews were the virus, and the people of color, the homosexuals, they were the symptoms.
By studying Atomwaffen chat logs, my colleagues and I develop a list of more than 80 Atomwaffen members. 7 of these men have military experience. I already know about Atomwaffen founder Brandon Russell and his time in the National Guard. But there are also 3 active duty soldiers or Marines and 3 military veterans. And my sources say there could be more. I want to better understand the link between Atomwaffen and the military. I go to see Professor Kathleen Ballou at the University of Chicago. She's been researching the history of the white power movement. We're looking at a current group called the Atomwaffen Division, and they are actively recruiting military members. Does that surprise you?
Not at all. That's a strategy pioneered by the white power movement in the period of my study and continued throughout the post-Vietnam period. One thing to understand is that throughout American history, there's always a correlation between the aftermath of warfare and this kind of vigilante and revolutionary white power violence. So if you look, for instance, at the surges in Ku Klux Klan membership, they align more consistently with the return of veterans from combat and the aftermath of war than they do with anti-immigration, populism, economic hardship, or any of the other factors that historians have typically used to explain them. Nationalist fervor, populist movements, those are all worse predictors than the aftermath of war.
Tend to correspond then with an upsurge in white power, white supremacist activity?
Always, yes.
Wow. Ballou outlines a long history of military men who became key figures in the white power movement. George Lincoln Rockwell, World War II veteran and founder of the American Nazi Party. Richard Butler, World War II veteran and founder of the Aryan Nations. Louis Beam, Vietnam veteran and Grand Dragon of the KKK. Timothy McVeigh, Gulf War veteran and Oklahoma City bomber.
It's important to remember, too, that returning veterans that join this movement and active duty troops, we're talking about a tiny, not even statistically significant percentage of veterans. But within this movement, those people who did serve are playing an enormously important role in instruction of weapons, in creating paramilitary activist mentality and training. The military response to white power activism, like the court response to white power activism and the police response to white power activism, reflects the many ways that our society has not been prepared to deal with this kind of a movement.
I hear from 2 former Homeland Security officials who say the government remains under-resourced and out of position for dealing with the white supremacist threat. For months, I've been trying to get someone in the government, especially at the Department of Defense, to talk to me. No one at the Pentagon, not even a spokesperson, will agree to an interview. But Congressman Keith Ellison has read my reporting. He's written a letter to the Department of Defense demanding an accounting of their efforts to rid the ranks of extremists.
Well, let me tell you, I am a believer in our nation's military. I have very close relatives who serve, including active duty. And I can tell you that it's an institution that even in my family, we've always revered. To think that somebody who does not support the true goals of the U.S. military, which is to protect Americans, and actually wants to use that training to hurt Americans, is revolting to me. And I hope that that people in the military really do take this seriously.
We've identified 7 members of one neo-Nazi group who are current or former military.
Is that Atomwaffen?
That's Atomwaffen. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that they have decided this is a strategic initiative for them. They want their people to go into the military. There's a real legitimate fear here, and I think that we've got to be vigilant about it.
The Pentagon responded to Ellison with a letter stating that the military aggressively screens new recruits. The DoD also said it had received 27 reports of extremist activity over the past 5 years and had disciplined 18 service members. I put those numbers to Heidi Byrick of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
That's laughable.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. That's ridiculous.
So you think the number that's low?
I think it's crazy low. I mean, look, hate groups are telling their people to join the military, and this is something that's been documented both in FBI reports and in DHS reports, to gain these skills. There's not only going to be 27 of them in a military force of, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 million people in the United States who are under arms. It's not possible. I think it's actually, that's just an indicator to me of how low a priority it is to root these people out. We presented the military and committees in Congress, like the Armed Services Committees, with 130 profiles off of the National Socialist Movement's like equivalent of Facebook, this thing called New Saxon.
Nazi Facebook.
Exactly, Nazi Facebook. And we keep sending stuff to the military, like examples of people saying, yeah, you should look at this guy, he looks like he might be in violation. And, you know, most of the time we never even hear anything back from them. I just think that the military needs to have pressure put on it to put this at the top of its list. If that means shuffling around resources, so be it. We don't want another McVeigh, right? You just can't have this.
With nobody at the DoD willing to talk to me, I sit down with a former military prosecutor who has handled white supremacist cases.
It's been put to me, look, this is a very small fraction of the U.S. military. The vast bulk of service members are wonderful people. You're disparaging the whole armed forces by raising this. Do you think that's true?
No, I think it's too important. There's no question that there are organizations that would like for people to go in the military to acquire the training that you get in the military. And how we could screen all of those people out, you know, is pretty difficult. But there always could be corners of a given organization where people could hide out and not be seen.
In its letter to Congressman Ellison, the DoD also said it had investigated the Atomwaffen members I'd identified. But they didn't say what they had done. All I know is that only one member, a Marine, Vasilius Pistolis, was court-martialed and expelled from the service. In response to our questions, a Pentagon spokeswoman sent a statement saying she couldn't provide information on individual cases, but quote, "Our standards are clear. Participation in extremist activities has never been tolerated and is punishable under the Uniform Code of Military Justice."